Now you can catch your breath after the longest gospel in the church history. That's a long one. And I'm up here today because last week I preached from down there, and all you could see was the back of my head and my ear, and you couldn't hear a word. So here we are. Now for those of you who time sermons, the gospel doesn't count. Now you can put your watch on and see what happens. Most of you are old enough to remember my favorite radio program on NPR, Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story. I love that program. I listen to it every week. This sermon is Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story. In the days of the Jews, towards the middle of the 8th century, BC, that's about when I was born, there was the northern kingdom, which had the 10 tribes, and it was by far the wealthiest. And then they had the southern kingdom, the last 2 tribes of Israel, in the city of Jerusalem. Now, there was great wealth and power in the northern kingdom. So what happens in those days? If you had great wealth and power, somebody else wanted it. And it was the Assyrian Empire. And in 721, the Assyrians took the northern kingdom of Israel. Now, when an army came in to conquer you, they took all the leaders and all the wealthy people in the kingdom, and they sent them away, spread them all over their kingdom, so that they would lose all their power and lose all their wealth. And they would take slaves and poor people and bring them into the northern kingdom. And that really watered down the whole concept of the Jewish faith. And these people in the north were now called Samaritans. And they worshiped on a mountain, not in Jerusalem. The Samaritans also only believed in the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those are called the laws of the Old Testament. And that's all they believed in. So the Jews and the Samaritans were always at enmity, always angered with each other, and never did anything together. So the first thing is Jesus is bridging this gap. Have you ever wondered how the faith of Jesus Christ can bridge gaps across great divides between liberals and conservatives, left-handed and right-handers, thin, fat, short, tall? Jesus has this ability to bring us together as opposed to separate. He has the ability to get us on focus what we have in common as opposed to what makes us different. So here's this long story about the struggle with the Samaritan woman and the well of Jacob. But it all comes down to the last couple of paragraphs. And it has to do with evangelism. I know that that's your favorite term and you all love to evangelize. But here's the deal. It's important. She goes in and says to the people, "This man knows everything. He's incredible." And they come out and they hear for themselves. And now suddenly these group of people that were at enmity with the Jews suddenly find faith and new hope through the presence of Jesus Christ. Now that's something you and I can teach, and that's something you and I can learn. Now, you know me well enough after a couple of weeks, here comes the story. I have been blessed in my career. I'm a licensed mental health professional. I'm an educator. I'm a hospital administrator. I'm a corporate executive. And I've always had incredible mentors. If you ever have an opportunity to be a mentor, please go out of your way and do it well. My mentor for the first part of my faith was a man I could look up to, 6 foot 9 inches tall, a tree hummer. And he, to say that he was wealthy, God took long-term low-interest loans from him. It was just, he's very well read. Since passed, by the way. So he and I would go to lunch at the Princess Diner in Penfield, New York. And we would go there every week. Now, we always sat kind of in the back, away from a lot of the people, because we would talk for a couple of hours. And we would always order our food. And this one day, the lady had brought us her food, and she was coming back to see if Richard, my mentor, wanted more coffee. And Richard was saying grace. Well, now, if you're in the middle of saying grace, what does a waitress do? She stands there, slowly backs up, and starts shifting from foot to foot. What am I supposed to do? They're praying. What's going to happen if I go over and pour coffee? Richard finishes grace, looks up, smiles, and said, more coffee? She said, absolutely. She said, I didn't know what to do. You know, you're saying grace. I didn't know what I should do. Richard smiled and took her hand and said, come join us. Come join us. She did. Next week, we're there, sitting in the same booth with the second waitress. She comes over, waits, pours the coffee. He says again, you want to join us? Didn't say much. Third week we're there, pours the coffee and sits down and says grace with us. And after about 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 of the waitresses were coming over to say grace with us. After about 6 months, some of the regulars, you ever go to a restaurant where everybody is given? The regulars were coming over to say grace. Towards the end, a couple of the cooks came up from the kitchen to pray over the food. And Richard always said, pray for the souls of the people who grew the food. Pray for the souls of the people that harvest the food. Prayer for people who serve the food. Pray for the souls of the people that consume the food. And you know, the whole concept is so simple. And yet by people watching this really in action, more and more people were drawn towards it. One simple element of sharing your faith, one simple element of sharing your faith can show someone what it's really like to be a Christian, what it's really like to have the opportunity to make a difference for somebody else. The power of God through simple actions to change a life. So yes, we have the Samaritan woman. Yes, a bridge has been built, even the slightest, most tenuous bridge between the Samaritans and Jesus, and yet it makes the difference. You have the opportunity in your life to make a difference for somebody else, to change their life, to make it better, to give it meaning, to give it purpose, to give it strength, and to give it the opportunity to grow. So after the longest gospel in the Bible, do something special this week.